Florence Scovel Shinn once wrote, "So we see, to play successfully the game of life, we must train the imaging faculty. A person with an imaging faculty trained to imagine only good brings into his life every righteous desire of his heart, health, wealth, love, friends, and perfect self-expression, his highest ideals. The imagination is called the scissors of the mind, and it is ever cutting, day by day, the pictures man sees there, and sooner or later he meets his creations in the outer world. To train the imagination successfully, man must understand the workings of the mind. The Greeks said, 'Know thyself,' and you must know that there are three departments of the mind: the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. So, for this video, I want to talk about what it takes to have mental strength. And I immediately thought about this passage from Florence because we can set aside affirmations, we can set aside a whole bunch of things. What Florence really contributes, from my perspective, is understanding the levels of the mind. That you have a subconscious mind, a conscious mind, and a superconscious mind. And to master your mind, you have to be able to master all three. I always describe it as having a house and having rooms in your house. Downstairs, you have the subconscious mind, and Florence describes it as simply power without direction. It's like steam or electricity, and it does what it's directed to do. Whatever you feel deeply or imagine clearly is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in minute detail. So you open the door to one room, and it is the subconscious mind. And let's say it's like the color yellow. There's another door which leads to another room, and that room is the conscious mind. And as Florence describes it, it's like you see life as it appears to be. You see death, disaster, sickness, poverty, and limitations of every kind. And then there's another room. When you open that door, you reach the superconscious mind, or the God mind. Learn to think like God does. And in that place, it's like you believe the very best. All things are possible. So, whenever you're not feeling good about yourself, you must understand that you have opened the door to the conscious mind, also called the carnal mind, and you have walked in there. And in this room, all you can feel, all you can sense is death, disaster, sickness, poverty, and limitation of every kind. Let's make it metaphoric. You see the death, the ending of everything. There's no sense of life. There's no sense that life springs eternal, as a poet once said. You see disaster. Everything's going to go wrong. You see sickness. There's a lack of health. There's always something that's just not right. You see poverty. You see lack and limitation. You don't see abundance. You don't see success. You don't see yourself thriving and succeeding. You see the very worst. You believe the worst. Poverty is a real thing, and you just feel limited, always limited. Like you can't do this and you can't do that, and that won't work out, and that'll never happen. And so you just take these as metaphoric. And so when you're in that room, that's all you can see. That's all you can hear. That's all you can speak on. And that's how you know you're in this room, because none of the other rooms have these things. So you might want to take stock and really think hard. If you feel death, disaster, sickness, poverty, and limitation, you are in the carnal room. And why this is important is because we like to think that it's the truth that we've tapped into, the truth of what our lives are, what life is, what is possible, that you've tapped into that directly and you've just accessed reality. Like you've just come to terms with what is. And so when you believe it's the truth, and when you believe it's reality for yourself and your life, and for all of us, then that becomes a very difficult thing. So what Florence contributes to this discussion is reminding us that we have opened the door only to the carnal room, to the conscious mind. And if we have the strength of character and the strength of mind to back out of that room and close the door, all those feelings stay in that room. And we can go upstairs to the superconscious mind, the God mind, and open that door. And in that door, it's like you believe the very best. It's like the moments are enchanted and the heat of the day is kind of rolled away. It's like an old song. And like in that room, you'll find life. In that room, you can believe the very best. In that room, you know that you're meant for more and can do more, and that God dreams bigger dreams than you would ever dream for yourself, because Florence says it's a perfect pattern that you get access to in that room, because there's a divine design just for you. There's a place that you are to fill that no one else can fill, something you are to do which no one else can do. And it's the perfect picture in the superconscious mind, in the God mind. And so it kind of feels too good to be true. So up there is where life is good. And it's where life, you can believe the very best and know that it's already done. And the subconscious mind just believes you. Like it trusts you wholeheartedly. And so I would just advise you and myself to always remember this. If you want to master the mind, you must think of it like 3 levels, 3 departments: the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconscious mind. And when you're going through all of those thoughts and you're feeling all of those emotions, think about what room would this fit into? What level of the mind would this fit into? Instead of taking it to be the truth. And when you realize you've opened the door to the conscious mind, you back out and you close the door and you go somewhere else. And it's being able to walk out of that room that actually shows the kind of power you have. And it's being able to think and think about the thoughts that you're thinking about. Or to put it another way, to think about the thoughts that you're thinking and not just believe them, but to have to witness them and to think about them and realize where they fit into in the level of the mind, and to call it what is instead of just believing it. And I think if we can do that, then we will have a level of mastery over our minds that is extraordinary. But I will say Florence does contribute something to the discussion that I think is fascinating, which is that she says that the world's thought, or like the carnal mind, the conscious mind, those kinds of thoughts are hypnotic. They really lull you into it, and they really make it hard to want to give it up. So when I say death, disaster, sickness, poverty, limitations of every kind, you might put your hand up and say, oh, that sounds awful. I wouldn't want that. But when you're experiencing them, somehow they have a hypnotic effect on you. And somehow they just really lull you into something where you don't want to give them up. So the power to recognize what room you're in, what level you're at, and to realize that you can be more and think more, and to want to walk out of that room and to actually do it, that's where the mastery of the mind comes in. So that's our deep dive for today. Florence Scovel Shinn, she wrote a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. It's an amazing book. This section actually comes from chapter 1. In my channel, I just do deep dives into her writings because I think her contributions are amazing. She wrote 100 years ago, but her ideas are as fresh and as relevant as ever. And she wrote other books too, like The Power of the Spoken Word and Your Word is Your Wand. It's kind of like a magical thing. And so if you like this kind of stuff, if you like doing deep dives into her ideas, if you like to be reminded of what she said, if you like to be introduced to what she said, then I invite you to subscribe. You can also leave me a comment. I really do see them. I see all of them. And I do reply. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I always end my videos by saying, and I always mean it, as always, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.